Imagine you're asleep in your own bed, in the house you grew up in. You wake up, and suddenly this building is no longer in your country. You have to drop everything, leave your entire life behind, and run. In the summer of 1947, that exact nightmare became the reality for tens of millions of people across the Indian subcontinent. But the timeline doesn't start with chaos. Before that summer, there was no border. There were no passports or visas. Hindu merchants ran businesses in the alleys of Lahore, while Muslim shopkeepers thrived in Amritsar. Sikh families called Karachi home, and the neighborhoods of Delhi were a mixed tapestry of every faith. Communities shared sweet vermicelli on Eid, lit up entire streets for Diwali, and danced together during Baisakhi harvests. If you asked someone who they were, their answer was tied to their neighbors and their trade, well before their theology. When a social fabric is woven that tightly over hundreds of years, it does not unravel on its own. It has to be deliberately cut. The British Empire knew that a united Indian populace was a direct threat to their authority. To maintain control, they engineered a political strategy of divide and rule, quietly planting seeds of suspicion along religious lines. As the demand for independence grew louder, the political paths diverged. While leaders like Gandhi and the Congress Party pushed for a united, free India, Muhammad Ali Jinnah championed a very different outcome, a completely separate nation for Muslims. What started as debates in elite political drawing rooms began to bleed into the streets. Neighbors who had traded and celebrated together for generations started looking at each other with quiet distrust. That quiet distrust finally erupted on August 16, 1946. During Direct Action Day in Calcutta, political tension mutated into localized slaughter. Shops were burned, homes were raided, and thousands of people were killed, specifically targeted because of the religion they practiced. The political strategy had worked too well. The animosity escaped the politicians' control and lodged itself deep inside the minds of everyday citizens, setting the stage for a massive, unstoppable tragedy. By 1947, the British realized their grip on India was gone. They announced their departure, but attached a massive condition. They would split the subcontinent into two independent nations before they left. The man hired to draw the boundary was Cyril Radcliffe. He was an English lawyer who had never set foot in India, knew nothing of its complex geography, and was entirely unfamiliar with the cultures he was about to divide. In just 5 weeks, one man with a map and a pen separated hundreds of millions. Down on the ground, citizens were kept entirely in the dark, never knowing if their home would land in India or Pakistan. Radcliffe signed off on his paperwork and left. But the moment his ink dried, absolute panic consumed the subcontinent. Millions of Hindus and Sikhs immediately began walking east toward the new India, while millions of Muslims walked west toward Pakistan. Entire villages emptied out overnight. People were in such a rush that many left their front doors wide open. Others carefully locked up and put the keys in their pockets, entirely convinced they would come right back once the political dust settled. Governments scrambled to provide special refugee trains, but they were vastly unprepared. People crammed inside cars and packed onto the roofs, desperate to cross the new borders. Very quickly, these trains became rolling targets. Armed mobs would stop the cars in the middle of nowhere. When the trains finally rolled into their destination stations, they were entirely silent. Inside, there were only corpses, and painted in blood on the walls was the phrase, Azadi Ka Tohfa, the gift of freedom. The heaviest toll fell on those who couldn't defend themselves. Women were separated from their families, and children lost their parents in the stampedes, and the elderly collapsed and died by the side of the road. In their frantic rush to find safety in a newly assigned homeland, these citizens walked directly into the deadliest mass migration in human history. Then came August 15, 1947. In the capital, the mood was euphoric. The British flag came down, the Indian flag went up, and an immense crowd gathered at the Red Fort to celebrate their independence. But at that exact same moment, out on the newly drawn borders, people were being slaughtered. The triumphant speeches in Delhi were happening simultaneously with the screams of families being torn apart. This is the brutal paradox of 1947. The subcontinent achieved its greatest political victory, but it was purchased with a level of human trauma so deep that it permanently scarred the new nations. Even today, decades later, elderly survivors break down in tears when they remember the specific streets in Lahore or Karachi where they used to play, and the childhood friends they never saw again. Ultimately, treating millions of human beings as simple variables on a map carries a permanent cost. That single political line severed centuries of shared memory, broke countless families apart, and locked people out of their own homes forever.